Hi everyone, thank you for joining us for today's webinar. My name is Berit Weymers and I'll be your host today. The presenter is Ben Rang. We are really excited for this webinar on the introduction to web forms. In the past year, our team has been working tirelessly to give web forms the attention it deserved and to bring it to the people. This has been a request from our customers for at least 5 or more years, so we're glad that we're finally able to get it into the platform and hopefully make your lives as iFormBuilder users better than ever.
All right, great. Thank you very much, Barrett, and really appreciate everyone for being here. It sounds like we have a good variety of folks that are looking at our software, evaluating it, as well as some existing users. So to get started, I kind of want to just go over the agenda here, and then we'll kind of get into the bulk of the discussion. So first and foremost, I wanted to go over what are web forms. Most people may know them as forms that you see like on HTML forms on the web. And that's pretty much what you're going to see from our web forms as well. I do want to go over a couple demonstrations. I have actually 2 demonstrations to show. One is going to be more of a business case where that we're using it as a work order management system, and then the other is going to show some more of the features and functionalities for some more of the technical folks that want to see what all is available in this release. And then later on, I want to go ahead and look at what's new in this phase of web forms. We had our first phase released here a couple months ago, and now we did a lot more work and have a ton of the more smart form functionality available. And then I do want to go over how to start using it if you have not already enabled web forms today. There are a couple ways that you can enable this. By default, it's turned off on everyone's account. But you can turn it on in a variety of ways. And then last, I kind of want to talk about what our future plans are for web forms. We plan on rolling web forms out in 3 phases, and this is the second of 3 phases, which is actually the bulk of the functionality that we're going to be presenting. So first, I just want to talk a little bit about what are web forms. Web forms are pretty much exactly what you're going to see on the device, but it's actually to be filled out on the web. So for the longest time we've supported iOS or Android, probably for the first 10 years, and that's where all of our development has gone into. But just recently, in the course of under a year, we were able to bring most of that functionality to the web, which is huge kudos to the team, especially the development team, for making all this come to life in such a short time. If you look at kind of what we did in the last 10 years, and now we have a good bulk of that available on the website. But what you're going to see is a very similar look and feel where you see your list of forms here on the right-hand side. This is what you're going to see on the device as well. You'll see these 4 forms if I log in with the same user on the device. So whether you're on an Android, iOS device, or a laptop, a desktop, anything with a mobile browser, you're able to access these web forms. So I wanted to go over a quick example here of showing how web forms can be used in a work order management scenario. So just going to hop out of the webinar here and move over into our admin control panel. What I'm actually going to do is I'm going to pull up my device here as well, so you can see kind of how this will behave. So if you don't have web forms enabled, I'm going to go over that here towards the end. But once you do have it enabled, you're going to see you can go to your data views as you've used before, but you can also see that there's a new tab here called data, and it's collect. So very similar on the device, you have a manage tab, at least on the iPad. You have a manage tab to view your data, and then you have a place to collect your data. So we're simply going to hit collect. And at this point, it's going to load all the forms that my user has access to. So on this side, I'm logged in as an admin user who has access to these forms. On my device, I'm actually logged in as a different user who has access to a different set of forms. On this screen, you're going to see a couple of things here. We can look at this data in a tabular view or more of a list view here. And you can also search for any forms that you have. So if you're assigned to a bunch of forms, searching may be a faster route to get to that. So in this flow, we have an administrator who's going to create a work order, and then they're going to dispatch it out to this user here. So typically, you'd have to use our old create new record if you're an administrator. and it's a pretty old interface. This is going to be a much newer look and feel. So let's select the work order here. And when I select this, it's going to take a little bit of time to download it. Again, this is a little different than you're used to on the mobile, where it downloads everything initially, and then you can access these forms. This one, it's pulling the most. You do have to be online to access this web form here. So what we're going to do is we're going to just select a date when the work order is created. So we're going to say it was created today, right at 10:08, the time that it currently is now. And then we want to give them some job details to do. So we'll say that we want to fix the light in the corner room. And you can put a variety of other details here based on your form, of course. And then we want to select the due date. So I want this to be completed. Maybe let's say we have a client coming in the office on a weekend or to this room. We want to make sure we fix it by the end of the day tomorrow. So we'll make the due date as tomorrow. And then from here, I'm actually going to put in some details of where this work order is located. So I'm going to actually put in one of our old office locations, and this is just going to be the address here. And then on the form, what we're going to be able to do is we're actually going to be able to navigate to that from our mobile side of things. Because if you're working in the office and you're filling out this form, you don't need to navigate to it. You need to tell to the field worker where to go. Scrolling down here, we're going to see some other details about the work order status. Is it open, in progress, or closed? We're simply going to hit open because right now it is an open work order. And we're not going to fill out this information here, completed by and the resolution and the photos, simply because that is for this device to utilize. At the bottom, we're able to, we have an assign to element here. So I want to assign this out to a specific user. So you'll see a list of users here, and we're just simply going to hit WO Ben. That's the name of this user that I have here. And we can put an email address in. The reason I like doing this is because every time this is submitted, an email copy will be sent to the individual whose email is on here, so you can keep up to date with the work order at all steps. So at this point, we're just going to submit the record. And you're going to see it's showing a couple messages here because it is submitting it to the server. Now at this point, we're going to open up our device, and we're going to see we just got a notification. You might not have saw that. It showed actually really quickly, but on our device we got a notification that one new record was assigned to us. So at this point, I can download the record, and I'm going to open this record up here. And I'm going to see some job details as well as the due date. And I can open that up. And then down here, we're going to scroll through, and I'm going to see I need to fix the light in the corner room. But before I do that, I need to actually get to my destination. So I've simply set up a dynamic URL to actually navigate us to the location. So this is actually just right across the street from where I'm at now. I'll use my current location as our starting point. And we're going to see this can give us driving directions to that. So anyone who hasn't done that in their form yet, it may be beneficial to do that, and you can simply hit navigate and drive to that destination. So I'm not going to drive to the destination, but I'm actually just going to cancel out of this. And then what we're going to see here when I'm at the destination is I can do a couple more things here. So I can choose, is the work order in progress or closed? So right now it's in progress, and you saw right when I hit in progress, it actually automatically populated my username to see that who is completing this. So I can put in the resolution. I'll say that I go ahead and fix the lights with a new bulb, and that was $10. And then we can add multiple photos here. So I'm just going to go ahead here and take a photo. I'm in the room here, so I'm just going to take a photo of this light that we have. And then I can put a comment in here, new light working. So then we can prove to the folks in the back office that we fixed it and it's working as expected. Now I could go ahead and add multiple photos here. For the sake of this webinar, I'm not going to add more photos than one right now. And then at this point, I can sit here and say that the work order is closed. But maybe for this one, let's keep it in progress because we would want the administrator to close this thing out. So then me as an end user, I can go ahead and assign it back to the web form itself, or to the user solutions all, which is this user here. So when I hit done, it's actually going to submit up. And one of the great new things about Webforms here is that it does support assigned records. So I'm just going to do a quick refresh on my page here, and we should see that this record is now assigned to the web form user. So every time you refresh, it pulls in all the most up-to-date information. We will see there's a 1 right beside here, but I did want to point out that you can simply tap this box here, and it's actually going to show only forms which have assigned records. So let's say you have 10 or 20 forms, it's a lot easier to find that. So we're going to open up this work order, and similar to what you see on the device view, you see a list of records that are assigned to you here. So I can simply open up this record, and I'm going to review what this first user in the field did. So I can see that we were supposed to fix the light. I can see that they fixed the light and replaced it with a new bulb. I'm actually even going to dig into the subform because I want to just confirm that this photo, the light is working, and I can close out this. So I've confirmed that. I can put in any additional comments if I wish, but we can simply go back. Now at this point, I want to go ahead and close out the work order. So I'm going to hit closed here. And then at the bottom, we don't want to assign it to anyone else, but let's say there was an issue or something, you could simply set it back to in progress and assign it out to another user. At this point, I'm just going to submit the record, and that's going to be the end of this process here. So to recap, you saw that with Webforms, you're able to, folks who are on a desktop device, be able to create the work order and dispatch it out to the field. But then not only do that, but then once it's completed, you can have them review that work order directly inside of here. So again, this kind of gives them an operations view of someone who's creating and assigning them out and then submitting them back to keep kind of up to date with what's going on. This process could be done from device to device, but if they are in the office, it doesn't make sense for them to be using a phone versus a desktop computer. So do we have any questions about this workflow in particular, or any questions in general, Berit?
We do, Ben. Perfect timing. So we have one that just came in, and it says, if I was looking at this record in the future, how would I know who actually did the work? As the admin's name to replace the technician's name.
Oh yeah, definitely. So that's something we just have the bad form design there. So that's something we didn't check before doing this webinar. But yes, I mean, when you say completed, it should default to the person who completed it. So that was just a form mistake on my end. But typically you'd see it right in there. It would show that Ben completed this one when you hit completed there.
Great, thanks, Ben. I think that's it for now.
Okay, great. So we can kind of hop back in here to the presentation portion of this. So moving on, I kind of wanted to go through some more of the features and things that are available in phase 2. As I said, I mean that we've been building iOS and Android software for 10 years now, and just within the past 6 months, we were able to get a good portion of that functionality in the web forms. So one of the biggest things that is available now in Webforms is end users have access to this. So in our first phase, only company admins could have access to it in a very limited fashion, and now end users get to view this. So again, that opens it up to any one of your users who has collect rights to that form, and those can be given to that user inside of the form assignment section. One of the things I touched on earlier were support for assigned records. So if a record is assigned to you, and you don't fill it out on your phone, you can fill it out on the web form as well. Now we can go through that a little bit more technically later, but pretty much it's going to show as an assigned record until it is downloaded to your mobile device if you do that. So if folks have questions on that, we can certainly touch on that later. Smart controls. This is one of the biggest things that took the most time from an engineering effort, because there's a lot of logic and JavaScript in the platform, which is what makes the iFormBuilder software so powerful. But now we have dynamic logic in there. So this allows you to do calculations and different formulas inside of there. So all the calculations you've built on your iOS or Android device should behave very similarly on the web as well. Same thing with our condition values. So if you want to hide and show elements based on conditions, which I'll go over later, that is now possible. We also support client validation. So if you want to validate that, someone said they can only work a max of 8 hours, and you make sure they only enter that max on there. So a variety of things are available to be done there, but all the smart controls are now supported. Smart option lists. So that's another big one there. So I'll show the example here later, but basically if you have a list of car makes, you choose that car make, and then the next list shows only models that are relevant to that car make there. So any of the smart option lists you've designed to date will behave in a similar fashion as well. We do support Dropbox and Box for image labels and attachments on there. So if you use these to make your form prettier, or put in like PDFs, for example, for reference documents, or any types of branding, for image labels, those are now supported. And then lastly, we have a list of built-in functions that are now supported, such as things like getting your first name, your email address, the username, the language your device is in, a variety of those details that I'll show here later. So again, a lot of great stuff is now available in phase 2, and we can share some of those release notes so you can see the extensive list of everything that is now available. Before moving on, do we have any other questions, Berit?
Hey Ben, there is another question. Is there a built-in variable for checking if the device is a web form? So only certain fields may show on the web form?
Yeah, I believe so. I mean, I think we do a device type one on here, so we can double check on that. But yes, we can identify if it's iOS or Android, and then we should be able to identify if it's web as well. But we can double check on that one.
Great, thanks. That's it for now.
Okay. So I'm gonna go over here now how to start using web forms. So this is more about how to enable it and get access to it on here. So this is all about what your access level is, or what your current plan is, current iFormBuilder subscription is. So we have 2 ways to enable this. If you are on our iFormBuilder team plans, that's our current plan name, or you're on, you log into app.iformbuilder.com. You're going to have to submit a request to our help center. So you can either hop on chat or go to the submit a request button on our Zendesk page, and say I would like it enabled for this profile. We would prefer that the company admin of your account is the person who requests that, because we want to make sure that other users that may not have authorization are not requesting that. So again, you want to submit that to our help center with your profile ID, which is located in the top right, which I'll show here in just a minute. And then for our business and enterprise customers, this means you have your own dedicated database or private server account, as it may be called. You actually have the ability to do this and enable this on a profile by profile basis. So you have to be a server admin. That's the server admin user, not a company admin. But as a server admin, you're able to go into any profile you wish and enable that through the company info section. So there is a link in here that folks are going to be able to get after the webinar that we'll share, but I'm gonna actually go through it here in just a minute. So I think I saw a question popped up here.
So there's a question, Ben. Are there any implications of enabling this? Someone's wondering why it's not default.
Yeah, so right now Webforms is currently in beta, where we want to get this out to folks and let them use it as best they can before we enable it for everyone. So yes, that will happen here at some point, but we want to only turn this on if folks want to turn it on at this current state and time. So I wanted to just go over here on how to turn this on. So I'm actually going to hop out of the presentation and then back into the iFormBuilder admin portal. And how you want to turn this on, if you are a app.iFormBuilder user, in this case I am a private server user or a dedicated database customer. But if you're an app.iFormBuilder user, your profile ID is going to be located right up here. So you can simply copy this and then either hop on the chat or send it through our help center and say that you'd like this enabled for this profile, and our team will get that enabled for you, and you will start seeing the collect option right here. Now, if you are a dedicated database customer, how this works is you can do this in your current profile that you're logged into, or you can manage additional profiles and turn that on. But once you are managing that profile you want to enable it for, you simply go under Company and Company Info, and then you can scroll down. You're actually going to see this is the same spot if any folks have enabled our mapping service. You'll see web form here and mapping here. So you can simply, yours will probably say default or disabled by default, but you can simply hit Edit Web Form Access and just tap this toggle and make sure this is on. And then when you save it there, you're going to see your data and collect tab should appear. Now again, if you are a server admin, we do not support right now server admins filling out web forms in additional profiles. So if you do manage your profile or a different profile than which you exist, you'll want to make sure a company admin or some other user can log into that profile and see the collect tab. So that is something we're actively working on. Again, one of the reasons it's still in beta, because there are some things we still need to clean up before we can move it out of the beta section. So that's how you turn it on there. Before I proceed to showing some more of the functionality, are there any questions?
No, Ben, I think we're good to go. The only thing is, when I'm talking, if you don't mind muting your microphone, there seems to be some feedback.
Okay, that sounds good. Yep, I'll do that here moving forward. So what I wanted to go over next is some of the web form features. So I've actually designed another form here that I'm going to open up here that's going to show some more of the technical things that we've done in here. So first and foremost here, we can go in and we can see our built-in functions at the top. So I have first name, last name, email. These are all JavaScript and iFormBuilder built-in functions that folks can utilize. There's our username, our server name, device model, device language, and for the individual who had the question about is web form accessible through here. So yes, it is. It's called app name. So that's going to be in our built-in function documentation that'll populate the name of web form. So you can distinguish if it is a web form, iOS or an Android device. We have our app version here, which is going to be the current version of web forms, the user ID, which may be useful in certain scenarios. Same thing with your profile ID and page ID. Now this is not every built-in function. This is just the ones we currently support today. So there are more built-in functions and reference information will be coming in the future. As we scroll down here, we have our dynamic values. So in this example, I just wanted to show a calculation. So we'll put in an hourly rate. So I'll say 10, and then the hours worked here. So I'm going to put 8 hours worked. And what you're going to see is the calculation here, your total daily pay, automatically calculated here for you. So again, if I would change that, and you maybe worked some overtime and did 10 hours, your daily pay would change in there. So that's a very simple calculation, but all the calculations that folks have used should behave in a similar fashion to that of iOS and Android. We have implemented our condition value under the smart controls. So if I tap pass, you're going to see it says, great job. If I select fail, it's going to say, why did it fail? And if I hit NA, it shows nothing there. So again, this is going to allow for any of the condition values that you've applied to behave in a very similar fashion too. And then the last piece I wanted to show is our smart option list here. So I've set up a little example that shows your different car makes as well as your different car models. So in this one, we're just going to say we're going to choose Honda, and then I'm going to see any Honda models that or car models that are here. So I am able to search like I was before, so I can simply hit Civic. But let's say I want to choose maybe like a Subaru. So I can choose Subaru and then the different car models that Subaru supports here. So again, if you have smart option lists that are in use, you're able to set those up and make those will behave the same as on your iOS and Android. One new thing you may have noticed on here, we are supporting clearing of certain elements for web forms now. So in this example, you can just simply hit clear and it'll clear out that information. So we are trying to support that for as many elements as possible across all of our iOS and Android platforms. But Webforms actually has a leg up on iOS and Android now with the ability to clear selections after they've been made. And at this point, I'm able to submit the record if I choose. Again, this is just a dummy record for the discussion. But you will see at the bottom here we have a submit and new button. So this was a feature request that we've heard from a variety of customers. When they're done, they may want to just create another one, and there's no point in it's an additional click if you hit submit and then you have to click again to reload it. You can simply hit submit and new, and it's going to create this record and then automatically open up another one for you to fill out. So again, it should let folks do rapid data collection a bit faster there as well. So I think it looks like we have another question or two here. Berit, can you share what the question may be?
Sure. So we have one question about web forms and being enabled. Are you able to have it so you can send a URL to a user to access the form through the web?
Yeah, so right now you can take this and if I send it to someone, they would have to log in, right? So right now it is through a login. So you could simply copy this URL and share that with someone. Now when they log in, if they don't have access to this form, it would not work. So again, they would have to have access to this form for that to be the case.
Perfect. Another question is about your smart option lists. How many lists can be a part of that smart option list?
So there is no limit to how many lists that you may go down, right? It may go car make, car model, car trim, and then even within that there might be more details of different things you can get in the car. So yeah, we don't have a limit to there. I mean, the most I've probably seen is probably 4 or 5 layers down on some more complex scenarios, but there is no limit. It just gets a little more difficult to implement the farther down you go.
And another question then is, do you currently support, or does this currently support page-level JavaScript?
Yes, it does. So if you run page-level JavaScript, it should be working as well.
Perfect. Thanks, Ben.
So I do want to hop back into the presentation and just talk about some of the next steps that we're working on for web forms here, because I mean these are things that we've heard from our community and a bunch of different users asking for more functionality here. So first and foremost, one of the big things we're working on, and we hope to have that available here sometime in the next month or so, is smart table search functionality. So this is where you may select a a unique ID. And from that unique ID, it'll look up all related information inside of there. And then, so we should have that one going here sometime shortly. We are looking at the ability to have public links. So we've had a variety of users who either want to send a link to someone and have them fill it out without using a login. We have folks who want to maybe embed a web form inside of their website for folks to fill this out. And a variety of other use cases here. So we're still trying to figure out the business end of this and how we want to offer this to end users, but it is something that's coming there. So we definitely appreciate any feedback you have on how you may want to use any of the things on this list, but specifically public links. We do want to support all of our reference IDs that make sense for web forms. So there's a variety of different reference IDs we have where forms can only be filled out on certain times of the day, or only can be filled out once per day, and a variety of other reference IDs that folks may use on a daily basis. So we do want to get those supported as well. One of the big things we're working on as well is shared forms. So we have the ability in our dedicated database environments to share a form from, let's say one profile to the next profile. So we are working on making that accessible because a lot of our user base does use shared forms. We understand you can't use web forms until it does work with shared forms. So that's something that is also in the pipeline that we should hopefully have available here in the coming months. The last two pieces, the last one here is branding. So what we want to do is any of the branding that you set up on your server, such as like your device brandings or your server brandings, we want to bring that branding directly to Webforms. As I mentioned earlier, we have image labels, which are small images you can embed inside the forms, but we want to extend that to more than just inside the forms, but the shell will change to your color schemes and things like that. To make it a little more user-friendly experience there. And then we also do want to support localization going down the line. So on our iOS and Android devices, we do support multiple language support. So if you change your device language from, let's say, English to Spanish, and you have translation specified in the application, it'll translate all the form fields and everything to Spanish. Same if you choose different languages, as long as they are documented and specified inside of the admin portal. But we want to bring this to Webforms as well. So if you change your device language, let's say to German or French, it would translate to those based on the translations you have specified, and can allow folks to use that one form across multiple languages and still look at all that data in one table. So again, those are the main items we have. I mean, there are a couple others that we're thinking of, but I wanted to mention at least some of the big ones here. And we would love to hear from you and all of our different users as well, and seeing what things that we're working on are more important than others next, or are there some things we're missing that you'd like supported in Webforms as well. We do have a pretty active community here for a Webforms post, and the link's down here at the bottom. We'll share that here after the meeting, and see kind of what look at what people have posted to date, and then see how what more functionality you'd like to see in Webforms in the coming months. So I think that's really all I have. We did have some time for some questions here. So if there is any other questions, please share them at this time, and we can get them answered.
And while some questions may be coming in, I did launch a quick poll to get everyone's thoughts on the web forms and to see if people are pretty excited about it or if they still think it needs some work. Ben, there was a question about potentially having the ability to upload a video in the web forms. Is that something that you would see in the pipeline, or is that something the team has talked about before?
Sorry, I was muted. We do have a couple community requests on video element. It's something we have been looking at a little bit, but we don't have any active plans for it now. The main challenge is some of the size of some of these videos. So right now we do support uploading of image files, as well as uploading of other attachments such as a audio file, but we don't support uploading of videos at this time.
Okay, and so if you are somebody who wants video in there, please go into our community post and as Ben had mentioned before, give it a vote and just make it a little bit more active. With that, I'm going to close the poll, and Ben, if you could go to the last slide. I want to thank everyone, especially Ben, for presenting today. I want to thank all of our attendees for taking time out of their schedule to be with us today. And just wanted to let you know. Ben, can you mute for a second? I want to let you know that in the next 48 hours, you will receive an email with our webpage that will have the recording of the session as well as the session presentation. And please be active in our community. Please test out the web forms, and please let us know what you think. Ben, is there anything else you have for today?
No, I think that's it. I just wanted to thank everyone for attending. It's really exciting that we're getting Webforms out, and we want to see what all use cases people have with it and start putting it into use. So if you have any questions, feel free to let us know in our community or reach out to me.
All right, thank you all and have a great day.